Live from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida, the home of News Channel 8, your official BUCS station. This is BUCS Bonus on WFLA Now.
Can the battered Bucks take down the defending NFL champs, the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, on the road? That's in Arrowhead on Monday Night Football. That's the question we're breaking down on today's edition of BUCS Bonus. Welcome into the Stream Center, folks, with BUCS insider Dan Lucas. I'm JB Buno, of course, coming off the creamsicle game right here in Tampa, Florida.
Love it.
Oh,
it's
man.
my childhood all over again.
Can we just admire?
It never goes away for me.
I love this look.
Never goes away. You know what's funny? When I see these guys and their numbers, like number one, that was Garo Yepremian when I was a kid.
Man.
These are the guys. You know, little Mark Cotney, Scott Brantley. There's Jimmy Giles, 88. I mean, look at that. It's actually Kate Otten.
It is right there. Who had a great game, by the way.
Jimmy Giles was at that game, by the way, because they honored the 1979 Central Division champs, the first ever playoff team in BUCS history. Of course, they went to the NFC Championship that year, but Jimmy was there. He's a great guy. Love Jimmy Giles. Ring of Honor, Jimmy Giles.
Love it. Yeah, you see him up there at the Ring of Honor at Raymond James Stadium. Yeah, the BUCS creamsicle taking almost the mantle of the powder blue with the Chargers. Remember the calls years back when San Diego fans, now Los Angeles fans, were just clamoring for as much powdered blue as possible. Now we hear similar calls for creamsicle orange from BUCS fans. But the outcome this past weekend at Raymond James Stadium, not what the BUCS wanted, losing to the Atlanta Falcons, of course, a key pivotal NFC South matchup. Great games here on the board, and certainly people that had stepped up, like the aforementioned Kate Otten.
Right.
But what was it, Dan, that went wrong for the BUCS? Before we turn the page over to the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, we got to look back because this was a really key game on the BUCS schedule.
Well, you know, you're only a few weeks removed from playing Atlanta up there, and essentially the same thing happened when it comes to Kirk Cousins. He didn't have as many numbers. He had about almost half the numbers yards as he did a few weeks ago. But he had 4 touchdowns again. In fact, so in both games he had 8 touchdown passes against the BUCS. And I'm not going to take a shot here at Kirk Cousins, but you can get to him. He's not. He's not Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. The game's sandwiched around this one, and they just couldn't get to him. He's very good on the quick release, and the linebackers and defensive backs, they're saying communication. That's the word that's being thrown around, but it looks so bad at times that he had his pick of who to throw to, and it wasn't even close when that ball got there. The yards after the catch, all of their touchdowns were long plays, and Kyle Pitts had 2 touchdowns. And even though the fumble at the goal line there, a lot of people, you've seen video now that says, man, it was a fumble, but the replay did not overturn it. The play itself shouldn't have happened. Kyle Pitts' first touchdown shouldn't have happened. Darnell Mooney's touchdown in the first half shouldn't have happened. So it's happening again. And that's a little bit alarming if you're Todd Bowles, looking at your defense just getting picked apart, giving up all these points. And so the offense put up 24 in that game. That should have been enough to win. And 26 plus, you throw in the safety, the 26. They should have won the game. That's it. Bottom line. 2 interceptions in the red zone. One on a play that in hindsight should have never been called, the flea flicker. That would have had the BUCS getting close to the red zone. Both of Baker Mayfield's picks were red zone plays and just costly.
Yeah, and the Falcons are really starting to appear to take steps towards turning a corner. Yeah. And the Buccaneers, since the injuries to Evans and Godwin, it feels bleak right now for Tampa Bay. But man, you have an interesting matchup now with the defending champions. Now, you could make the argument that this is the worst time to be playing the Chiefs if you're the BUCS. You could also make an argument that this is exactly what the BUCS need, a chance when no one on planet Earth is expecting them to go into Arrowhead and emerge with a victory, that this team, despite the injuries, Dan, is capable. But we're going to talk about it here and break down the key storylines, starting with the BUCS defense. Yeah. I mean, it was the talk of social media. Antoine Winfield Jr. making just, again, one of those signature, can you believe it, Antoine Winfield Jr. plays that ultimately was not overturned. But
right.
as far as those defensive issues, the communication that has been talked about extensively by Todd Bowles, how do you take advantage of a Chiefs offense that isn't fully clicking just yet?
No, it's funny. When you look at the names on the Chiefs offense, you're thinking, oh, yeah, the 7-0. You're like, woo, boy, they are firing. But then you look at the numbers, they're very pedestrian, passing and rushing. Yet they're finding ways to win games. They just won a one-score game against a not a great Raiders team last week. So they're finding a way to get it done. So the Chiefs have the mojo is what they're doing. And Patrick Mahomes, his track record, take away that one magical night that Bowles threw at him in the Super Bowl, he's had his way against the BUCS. So this is definitely a matchup that you would presume favors him, especially after what Lamar Jackson was able to do a couple of weeks ago. And here's the thing. It's not Lamar Jackson is a downfield runner. Mahomes will take off and run down the field as well. Mahomes is more of the play extender, whereas Lamar does the same thing. But when you get Vita Vea and these guys running side to side and getting gassed at play after play, that's where they start to become more effective. And whereas Lamar had the Derrick Henry route to hand off to, that's kind of a 1-2 punch. Mahomes really drives it still for Kansas City, but he's got obviously very talented tight end, very good receivers. They've made trades to address needs. They're trying to get their offense a little bit of a jolt. So this just sets the stage for Mahomes to have a big night in front of his home crowd. But remember week 2 when the BUCS went to Detroit? No one gave them a chance. They controlled that game defensively. So they gave themselves a chance to win that game, and Baker Mayfield and the offense did enough to beat the Lions. So they can do it on this big stage, but boy, this is a big task.
You make a great point. You're not going to find too many Chiefs fans asking for, or willing to give you tissues for injuries.
Exactly.
They've lost Rashee Rice and have had to, of course, bring in DeAndre Hopkins as their wide receiver 1.
Yep.
They've lost Isaiah Pacheco as their RB1, have had to resort to Kareem Hunt, who was, if I remember correctly, not even really on an NFL roster at the beginning of training camp.
Right.
So we move on to the key storyline number 2. Dan, on your bingo card for this NFL season, did you have Mahomes and Baker leading the league in interceptions?
No, I didn't. I also did not have Mayfield leading the league in touchdown passes.
That's another thing.
So that's something that's the interceptions for Baker Mayfield have come as of late. And that to me is, I don't know if it's so much Baker doing the freelancing thing. It's the offense setting it up. The plays are taking shape in a fashion that's making these interceptions possible. Again, the flea flicker the other day was. Here's the BUCS imposing their will on the ground, and now you're going to throw a trick play. It was, I believe it was 14-7 still when the flea flicker happened. Might have been 14-14 if my drives are correct. At that point, the BUCS are still on schedule. They're not. It hadn't turned into a passing game or a strictly running game at that time. They could just run, and you chose to do this play. Todd Bowles said after they saw something and thought they could exploit it, and the only thing that happened was an interception, which, by the way, didn't cost the BUCS. The defense got off the field. It was the fake punt later, which was another head scratcher that gave the Falcons short field, and they wound up driving down the field a Bijan Robinson touchdown pass. So Patrick Mahomes, I think sometimes Patrick, and again, a lot of people say the same thing because he can make throws any angle, throws the ball behind his back. He can throw it facing backwards. I mean, the guy's a magician, and sometimes you're just going to not make it work. And I think he's willing to take that risk. And I think the Chiefs are so good and sound defensively that they can bail out that risk. So if there's an interception or two in this game, then the BUCS offense has got to cash it in.
Dan, when you wake up in the morning, is it alarm clock? What wakes you up every morning? A random question.
Usually it's the dog telling me she's ready for some breakfast and head outside. You slept enough. Other than that, sometimes
I
looking
feel
forward
like
to the big game.
where I'm going with
Yes.
this. I think I get the feeling in watching the Chiefs that they're just hitting the snooze button right now.
Yeah.
That clearly they're 7-0, and clearly they are a defensive dominant team right now. But do you just get the feeling in watching Mahomes and Kelsey that it's kind of like, wake me up when the playoffs start? Just let us know when the playoffs start, because that's when we're really going to crank it into high gear.
Yes, I do. This is a team that's gone the distance in back-to-back years, and is trying for 3 straight championships. So that wears on you at some point. But the real point is, it's a team that's figured out that the football season really doesn't start until Thanksgiving weekend.
Right.
So you're not going to win anything right now in the first 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season. You can play yourself out of it, but the Atlanta Falcons in first place and sitting in really good position right now. They haven't won a thing.
Yeah.
A loss or 2 from them, and if the Bucs can counter that, the Bucs are right back in it. So the Chiefs know when you have to ramp things up, and it's when December hits and you're heading into the postseason. You look at the standings. Do we have a shot at a first-round bye? Are we going to play at home during the play? That's what they're worried about. This is a team that, they can flip the switch. If that's your question, they can flip the switch when they're ready to.
And what's crazy is that we're not even, flip the switch. That concept could apply to a team, let's say, like the Jets. Like, when is Aaron Rodgers going to flip the switch and lead on one of his infamous, winning 9 out of 10 games to close out the regular season? The Chiefs are 7-0. So you're talking about an offense that isn't fully clicking yet. Clearly, they are the team to beat right now in the NFL, because they're the only undefeated team remaining. And, of course, you're two-time defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
Let's go to our key storyline number 3. Asking about whether or not we can have a Monday miracle at Arrowhead, because the Bucs, and this is from BUCS bonus producer Garrett Phillips, who passes along to me, that the last primetime win for the Bucs was actually 2022.
Yeah.
It was a Week 16 Sunday night football victory at Arizona. Last year they were 0-2. Which includes a Monday Night Football matchup against the Eagles.
Yep.
And then a Week 8 matchup on Thursday Night Football against the Bills. This year, they are also 0-2, losing on Thursday Night Football to the Falcons, and then Monday Night Football to the Ravens. So, primetime matchups.
Not kind to the Bucs.
No.
Now, the one thing they did do, they got their revenge on the Eagles on a primetime game, but that for the sake of the scheduled primetime games, no, they have not fared well on it. And the Ravens had another primetime win against them, a Thursday night game here at Ray J a couple seasons ago. So it's
how do you turn the frown upside down on primetime? It's a hard matchup this time around,
it's a
right?
very hard matchup for sure. But in all of those games, and in recent years, when you recall what happened in those games were so frustrating from the Bucs' perspective right from the start. And even so, the Baltimore game, the Monday night game, remember, red hot start and everything's cooking. And then you saw the tide start to turn a little bit, and it was just like, oh, here we go. And it happened. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry took over. Guy had ran for 99 yards in 2 games against the Bucs, and an 80-yarder or whatever that was against somebody. He finished with 163 or something in that game. It just, you saw it coming. And then you thought, man, in 2 weeks, they're right back on Monday night against the Chiefs. This is not good. That's why the Atlanta game was so big this past Sunday, because you could just write this Chiefs game off. And remember my preseason prediction, JB, before the season started. I said the Bucs would be 5-5 at the bye week, and that's at stake here.
Yep.
Because on the other side of the bye week, and I'm not the only one who says this, inside the building, there's some thoughts that they could get on a run, and so you just got to have things be manageable to get to that bye week.
A good opportunity for us to look at the schedule, and wins and losses are adding up here on our BUCS bonus schedule graphic. The Chiefs are up next, and then we're approaching the halfway point through the regular season. The San Francisco 49ers on deck, and then the bye week when the Bucs are hopeful to get at least Mike Evans back for that matchup on the road in New Jersey against the New York Giants. We'll continue on with the program, but of course, calling into the show,
I want to hear what he has to say.
I know, Buckified Bert has had bigger smiles on his face on this program. He usually is wearing a permanent smile when, of course, he's in the full garb. The Halloween-ish
He's
costume.
going to talk. I predict he mentions Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes. I bet you.
Let's go to Buckified Bert.
Hello, JB, Dan the man. Happy to have the opportunity to be on BUCS BONUS. The game didn't go the way I expected to go. We lost 2 games now to a division opponent. The good thing about it, we lost 2 when we won the first Super Bowl. In other words, we lost to the Saints 2 games, and we went on and won the Super Bowl. Now, we're getting ready to play Kansas City Chiefs. It's one thing you guys just know about Baker Mayfield. He know how to beat Patrick Mahomes. In an elimination game, win a championship in college, Baker Mayfield played against Patrick Mahomes. And guess who won? Yes, Baker Mayfield beat Patrick Mahomes. Now we're in the big league. Yeah, we're in the NFL. We got a desperate situation now. We can't afford to lose no more games. We really in playoff mode, but it's starting to get critical. So I look for the Buccaneers to take care of business Monday Night Football against Patrick Mahomes. I'm wearing the outfit that I wore when I went to the Super Bowl to see the Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm feeling good about this here game. All right? Go Bucks. Buckified. I'm out.
Man, he going back in time to talk about Baker versus Mahomes.
That's the time capsule.
In college.
I thought the flashing blue lights on the pirate ship tonight kind of resemble police activity. Like, let's get to the bottom of this Bucs defense. I'm gonna create a scene. I'm gonna tape it off, crime tape, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this Bucs defense. That's how he looked.
Bit of a tangent here. Buckified Bert never has to buy a Halloween costume. He never has.
He is the costume.
He is the costume.
Yeah, he is the costume.
I mean, he can just wander around his neighborhood.
The costume is people dressing up like him.
That's right. Man, that'll be funny. If any kids ever dressed up as Buckified Bert, it would be immediately on this show and on WFLA, your official Buck station. We would absolutely guarantee it would make it to air and online. But breaking it down there, Bert is right. We are at a point in the season now where you feel like, especially for Dan's prediction of 5-5, you want to capture one of these 2 games before the bye week. You don't want to go into the bye week with a record of 4-6. Bucks could go on a run, undoubtedly, and look at a wild card, but you don't want to fall too far behind the Falcons. Let's bring up the NFC South and show everybody what it's shaping up like right now, because, of course, losing both to Atlanta, you have a couple of tough matchups coming up here, Dan, and that's what makes it really important for the Bucks to stay in it from an NFC wildcard perspective.
Yes.
Not punting on the division by any means.
Well, remember this. So the Bucks are a game behind. It's really 2 games when you consider tiebreak scenarios, but they're a game out. The entire division plays the AFC West. So everyone has a go against the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. With the Bucks lost to the Broncos. Who else have they? They played the Broncos.
You want to schedule back up?
They still have the Chargers to come. And I'm trying to recall off the top of my head. There's Chargers, there's Raiders. Okay, Raiders and Chargers are back to back.
Cowboys and Panthers.
So
Saints.
I'm in terms of AFC West, the Chiefs are going to even things out against teams. So that can be something to consider when you talk about how's this division going to play out. And again, Bucks have to take care of their division games to keep pace with Atlanta and hope that the Falcons can stumble like they did 2 weeks ago at home when they hosted the Seahawks. And had a clunker and opened the door for the Bucks, to get back in that division lead. So it happens. We're in October. It's like we were discussing earlier.
But you're looking now. I mean, you look at those 2 matchups that are still looming with the Panthers, and you're thinking, man, you got to take care of business in both of those games.
Both.
You have to win both.
Yep. Cannot split. And to be honest with you, that Cowboys game is a Sunday night game, a couple days before Christmas. You've got to win that game. That has got to be a winnable game. The Cowboys are in such disarray right now. I don't know where they'll be in a month and a half,
right.
But
in the house that Jerry built.
It just looks like, I just feel like if they can get that win at the Meadowlands, and that game's going to be harder than people think, but I think it's a winnable game around Thanksgiving. You can go 1, 2, 3. Really, the Chargers game is a tough one on the road. You can probably win, at least 6 more games on the backside of this schedule. You just got to get to that bye week, if you can, 5-5, and then get Mike Evans back and get things back on track.
And it's not just getting back Mike Evans. There are other key injuries, of course, with the Buccaneers. Our Buccaneers injury spotlight comes in from Garrett Phillips on WFLA.com. Dan, an opportunity for you to share anything that you're hearing about Bucs injuries this week, but we're putting the spotlight on, of course, nickelback Tyke Smith.
Yeah, concussion protocol, so it's not up to the player to test. He'll go to practice tomorrow and he'll see how he feels, and they might let him do some physical activity, but he has to pass the concussion test from a neutral physician, I guess, is who conducts this test to be eligible to play. Luke Gedeke did that. Luke Gedeke playing with the Guardian cap in the games, and so far has been faring pretty well with it. Likes it, comfortable, can play, doesn't impact his play. So maybe that'll be an option for him. Who knows? But Tyke Smith is missed. He was missed last week. Hard hitter. And the nickel position allows him to get in the offensive backfield, and he would be really good for Mahomes to have to deal with him if he's chasing him around. So that would be a good get to get him back. But that's really the only big injury concern. Bucky Irving's toe was aggravated a couple of weeks ago, played with it this past weekend. He says it's okay. I think it's going to be something that doesn't go away. He's had this injury for a while, so it's going to be something he deals with. But Bucky Irving's not coming out of games, not with how those running backs are going right now. And that's one of my other points. The Bucs have had back-to-back games collectively with 100 yards as a running back unit, which is a massive improvement for them. Problem is the Kansas City defense is very good against the run. I don't think they're allowing 85 yards a game on the ground.
Steve Spagnuolo putting on a masterclass on defense
Chiefs
right now.
Chiefs defense stops the run, which frustrates Bucs fans because last week they were running all over the Falcons, and then Atlanta made some adjustments, and the Bucs could never just answer that, and they became a little pass heavy in that game.
It'll be, of course, interesting to see how this matchup takes shape, of course, because you're going into one of the most talked about NFL venues right now in Arrowhead.
The
Travis
loudest
Kelce,
stadium in the galaxy or something, they say.
Taylor Swift be there on Monday night.
Maybe.
Football, Baker, a lot of star power in this matchup, no doubt, with the Buccaneers taking on, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Monday Night Football is on ESPN, 8:15 Eastern kickoff. And, of course, we'll have everything that you need to know over the course of the week on WFLA News Channel 8, your official Bucs station. Home, of course, to Bucs Insider, Dan Lucas, and the rest of the team. You know what it is.
It's exciting.
It's exciting to be here and getting ready for Monday Night Football, folks. Keep it with Dan, Eileen, Kenny all week long here on WFLA News Channel 8. And be sure to read the very latest on WFLA.com. Can Tampa Bay fix their defense in time to end their losing streak? You can read it right now from our own Garrett Phillips, producer of BUCS Bonus. And, of course, we'll keep you posted on any injury updates, any key storylines ahead of Bucs Chiefs on Monday Night Football. For Dan Lucas, I'm JB Buno. Go Bucs. We'll see you next time here on BUCS Bonus.